Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, we will get into uh, I don't want to say it's a review because I'm not reviewing the show. However, I have some thoughts and opinions on, I guess the reception of Gray Rainbow. Now, this was a show that I watched way back when it came out. I believe the episodes are about yes, about an hour and some change long. They're only 4 episodes. And I just thought this show was so great. I thought it was so great. I do think that it's very, 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 very underrated and it's not talked about enough. It's not brought up in spaces of favorite shows in this genre. It gets dismissed. And I just kind of want to talk about why I think that is. Some things I've seen and heard from people to kind of maybe answer the question, but I would love to know what you guys think. Like, why do you think this show in itself is underrated or not brought up a lot? Why hasn't most people haven't seen it? Like, what's the reason? Let me know. But I'm gonna give you my thoughts and opinions on it. Now, before we get started, I am still on my journey to 100 patrons. If you haven't been following my community page here on YouTube, I have I mentioned that I'm trying to get to 100 patrons to help replace my camera that's damaged, and I'm going to react to Tales of a Thousand Stars and Bad Buddy once we reach that goal. So if you guys want to help me reach that goal, please consider becoming a patron. It's linked below. I am shooting new content for the Patreon very soon, so that's going to be exciting. And yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so like I said, it's only 4 episodes, an hour and some change each. The premise is, I'm on my drama list, and it says here, Gray Rainbow tells the love of, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm gonna call him N. N and Porsche. N is the son of a owner of an elephant camp, while Porsche is a law student. In university, they were dormitory roommates and close friends, each fighting against the feelings they have for each other. Now, it's a basic story of friends to lovers, right? That's the overarching plot. That's the basic plot. That's what it is. Now this show had me crying real thug tears, the realest, the thuggiest of tears when I watched it initially. I was so shook, and I think that a few things played into that because I I watched like all these different dramas before I watched this. I watched Sodas and Two Moons and what else did I watch? Make It Right, Lovesick. You know, I was watching these dramas and like it was all new to me. This genre, this BL genre. I don't like that term, but like that's what it is. BL drama, boys love. I was watching all these shows and kind of like, okay, all right. It reminds me of the animes I watched before in the past, Love Stage and like Gravitation, stuff like that. I get to this show, Gray Rainbow, and it had the cliches and tropes. They had, the friends to lovers, which is a common thing, but that this happens in these shows a lot. They had the villain of a girlfriend, and in these shows they like to make the women villains to kind of push you to want the couples together because how awful the original significant other, which is the female, mostly in these shows be. And what else? What else? What other cliches does the show have? Honestly, wait a minute. Because, okay, well, here's the thing. This show has something different from the others when I first watched it. I noticed automatically the cinematography was a lot darker. I felt like the show was shot at night the whole time. I mean, obviously there's day scenes, obviously, but I feel like even the poster is dark. It's giving gray. They hit the mark with the gray part because most of the show was at night or it seems dark. And they also had it seemed like this was the first time I saw actual queer folk like they touch on those topics. Like this type of show plot line happens in American dramas all the time. If you've seen the early 2000s up until now, these type of plot lines of acceptance and rejection from your family, discovering, your all these things happen most commonly in American shows. In these BL dramas, that's not always the case. Most times they're like, well, I ain't gay, but I am for this one person. That's how they kind of do it, or they don't mention it at all. And this show did it differently. It starts off with our main lead, Porsche, and that's the one thing that I noticed too, that the characters are a bit older. Like in this, we see Porsche in the beginning. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but I'm spoiling it. We see him as a professor in his job that he went to school for. Wait, no, he went to law school. So wait, when did he become a professor? I think he might have changed his. Okay, I think I haven't seen it in years, not maybe years. Yeah, a few years I haven't seen the show in its entirety, but I believe he changed careers because of a situation. But he's explaining his love story basically, and we watch it. Now, in the other dramas, it's mostly in the beginning. We mostly saw them in high school or freshmen in college, but it read very young. There's even flashbacks in those dramas if they're in college to them in high school. So it wasn't like we got away from the high school setting fully into college. We still saw it at different points in all the different dramas. The blue shorts, oh my gosh, the blue shorts. So we get to see these characters in their last year of college and them going into their careers, which is different. They're a bit older, which that might play into people's not really considering this a show they might think of as their favorite or something that they like because the characters are not young. I know that's kind of like a common thing. The characters are young, high school, early college, and this show is not like that at all. Even some shows who some couples, some pairings who are seen as like the blueprint, Max and Tool, they are they read as older, so lots of times they don't get considered, even though they are the blueprint. They set the stage. They really did what it needed to be done as far as, you know, you had the gay characters, you had actual kissing, you had it was a more mature storyline. They really set the tone. I think this is another show that is in that same realm of a bit older. That since they are a bit older, people dismiss them because it's not the cutesy fantasy type of like what they expect from this genre. So yeah, we have the story being told to us, and it was very touching because we have one half of the couple. They're best friends. They say they've been roommates throughout college. N has his girlfriend. She she was fine in the beginning, but she started you so slowly see her, I guess, jealousy or see how how N treated Porsche because Porsche. No, N really treated Porsche very, very well. I mean, he was sick. He brought him food. He made sure he was okay. Like he's always their friendship was top tier, top tier. Oh my gosh, top tier. There was a moment where Porsche was, I guess the guy thought he was a prostitute, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not," and he was assaulted. He was assaulted, which it hurt my heart for that scene. Oh my gosh, he was assaulted, and had to pick him up. Of course, he was on a date with homegirl, and the fact that he had to go leave to go help his friend. She was down to help him, obviously, but she felt a ways. You felt that she felt a ways that, oh my gosh, here we go again. You and your little friend, can you just not worry about him? But he went to go help him, and then we found out that one of their friends in the group is dating that guy that assaulted him and beat him up in broad daylight. It was a whole thing, but they set the tone of how their friendship is and how much they care for each other several times. Several times. So them becoming lovers, it made sense. Maybe they didn't think of each other that way, but the way they care for each other and when they became a couple, they just amplified. You know what I mean? And also the okay, so this show, I had shown a few of my peers, and it's just I realized the reception of it wasn't the same as how they view other shows, which is why I want to make this video. I noticed I got a sense that they were annoyed at certain plot points. They were put off by the pacing, maybe the characters, but I couldn't comprehend why. Because objectively speaking, lots of these shows we all watch, from the old stuff to the new stuff, there are very, very, very tired tropes and problematic characters, thought process, and things that happen that almost always get ignored just so people can feel okay with this ship happening, even though the characters are awful or come off a terrible way or do terrible things. This show has very likable characters. Yeah, the pacing can be a bit slow because the episode count is low, but the length of the episode is pretty long. It's over an hour, but it's telling stories of actual queer folk. One of the characters, Portia, is dealing with his sexual identity and his father not accepting it, even going to the point of having a heart attack when he realizes him and are a couple. Like it just seems like you would think people who are part of LGBTQ community would kind of relate and kind of feel a way. It's not saying they have to like everything that comes out from these kind of shows, but you would kind of think they wouldn't have such critical a critical viewpoint on these certain topics or these shows that are more mature and have more serious subject matter. But I do think that when you watch these BL dramas and they're presented in a way that's a fantasy, sometimes, especially in the States, when you see shows where it's more mature and like there's like gay bashing and there's like assault and rejection, seeing these other shows is kind of a breath of fresh air. And I understand. I can understand these other shows being a little more like easier to digest. Excuse me. Because of the subject matter isn't as heavy, or there's not a lot of issues that the characters have to actually go through. Because in this show, there's a bunch of moving parts. There's a couple, but they have their lives as their profession. They have to deal with their families. The ex-girlfriend comes back, and the guy that she cheated on with, he done left her with a baby. It's a bunch of moving parts that are kind of complex and kind of like, oh my goodness, I like it. It's those type of things happening, like I said, in the American shows, but to see it in these Thai dramas, I was so shook by it. And it just bothered me that no one kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I know. I don't know if I expect them to have the same level of interest and, you know, empathy and sympathy for these characters and situations, because I'm sure some of them have gone through something similar to this or know people who have. I'm sure they've seen these kind of stories before. Like, I just didn't understand why this show is so like dismissed like that. You know, and I'm not saying everyone has to like every show that I like. I don't like every show that everyone else likes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that, but I could give you a reason why. And I don't have a reason why they didn't actually like this, or people in general. Now, if you guys have seen it, I really want to know your thoughts and feelings on the show as a whole and why it's seen is not in the conversation. It's not in the conversation of like if you made a top 10 list or couple list or profound show list, like any type of list about shows in this genre. Why isn't this show, spoken about? You know what I mean? Because this is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. Still is, to this day. I know it came out to 2016. I know it's pretty old now. But I still think the themes, the acting, the atmosphere, the pacing, the characters, I liked it a lot. It was like I said, it made me cry. It made me cry like 3 times. Like, I was shook. I was like, why am I? These are fictional characters. What's going on? It just made me feel so many things. I kind of wish it wasn't as underrated. I'm sure there's a lot of people who like it. I'm sure you like it. You guys know I like it. I'm sure. I don't see anyone really discussing it in that way. And then me showing some of my peers and they're just kind of being like, Now, I do know that for the most part, as a reactor or as someone who tweets and gives commentary on shows, we all in some way, shape, or form kind of, bump up our enthusiasm about what we're watching. I don't do that as often. I mean, there are times where I'll have an energy drink and I'm more talkative, but I'm not saying anything I wouldn't say off camera. I think sometimes as a reactor, we tend to fake the funk a little bit when we watch these shows, because our feelings towards certain things are not consistent. We can watch a show on here on YouTube and be ignoring or living for a plot point or characters, but if we watch it off camera, we don't have the same feelings, even though they're doing the same thing that we said we liked or we kind of like live for. You know what I mean? Like it's an odd duality, and it's. I mean, I think nowadays it's not as common, but I still see it. You know, it makes it hard to keep up. I remember that was one of the things that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. I wasn't responding to Tarn Type in the way that people thought I should have, and being all giddy and screaming and shouting like all the other reactors, and it kind of like, what's going on with you? But it's hard for me to fake the funk, you know. And it's not to say there aren't shows that I think are cheesy, terrible, cringy that I like, because I told you guys before I like My Dream the series, and that show is awful. I even like Secret Crush on You. Secret Crush on You is also, in my opinion, story wise, very terrible. It's terrible. However, I like the humor. I like the cinematography, some of the characters, dynamics. So I kind of like it, despite the other flaws. So I can understand. I just, I. It just bothers me when like a show attempts to have fleshed out real LGBTQ people in their shows, and it gets dismissed. It gets dismissed, especially by people in that part of that community. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird to me. Like, I don't understand why. And like I said, maybe it's because it's too rooted in reality, and it's this show does have the barrier gay trope. Spoiler alert: one half of the couple passes away, and it's sad. You know, the show is a bit darker. There are some like nice like moments of happiness, but then there's lots of dark moments. Lots of it's a lot. It's a lot. I just remember being like, "Dang, this is intense." I wasn't expecting this from these kind of shows. Like I wasn't. I've been watching these different dramas, and we never got this kind of drama. You know what I mean? I know, like in Waterboy, Homo sleeping with his friend's daddy, but even that wasn't that like crazy. This show, people were getting assaulted, people were having heart attacks. It's a lot. It's a lot. You know, it was a lot. But yeah, I want to know, what do you guys think about this? Like, what do you think? How do you feel about people dismissing shows that have actual or more realistic portrayals of LGBTQ people? You know, I know that some people like dismiss Thrill Be Free because it's not a BL drama, but there's gay folks in it, trans folks in it. They're multidimensional. They have goals. The storyline is very good. Like I don't understand what's the problem. Like I understand the show isn't a romance, and I think giving the benefit of the doubt, that's what it is. Thrill Be Free or even The Player, they're not romance shows despite having queer folks in them. So maybe that's why it gets dismissed or not a part of the discussion. But can we have a discussion? Can we talk about those shows and those characters? You know, even Thrill Be Free has episode 5. I'm gonna do a video on episode 5, but that whole episode was a quote unquote BL drama. That entire episode, in the middle of the series, it was great. The way it was done, it was great, but it also had actual gay folks, so it's kind of like even better because of it, I think. But yeah, you guys let me know. I hope I made sense. I kind of rambled on. I just really like this show, and I just want you guys to see if you haven't seen it, or I just want to talk to you guys about it. So please sound off in the comment section below. How do you guys feel? Now, my birthday's coming up, March 31st, and I plan on doing more videos to celebrate. So if there's any type of like couple you want me to talk about, tropes, anything you want me to make a think piece about, a discussion video about, let me know below so I can get that done. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.